Yeah. So good afternoon, evening, morning, good day to everyone. We're back from last week's intro to trying to contribute things to Chocolatey, slightly unexpectedly. So apologies, we're doing it live, as has been said. I'm James Ruskin, DevOps engineer at Chocolatey Software, and this is Corey. You may want to introduce
I'm Corey
yourself.
Knox, a junior software engineer at Chocolatey Software.
And yeah, I think that's about all we need for the intro. We did it all last week. It's fine. We had Gary. We can just play that bit back. I should have recorded that and brought it in. So apologies for being lazy and not doing that. Let's jump back in to the PR we created last week.
Okay,
if that's right with you.
That works for me.
Cool.
Because there has been some review on that PR since
there has
last week.
So yeah, definitely something that that comes up quite often when you're trying to contribute, particularly during Hacktoberfest. Responses to your PR.
Yeah,
scary nonetheless. So this looks familiar, and Admiring Worm there has said that we need work. Yeah, the one nice thing about GitHub, of course, is that they've got this very nice inline thing where you can both see the suggestions. Obviously, this is just the comments, but if you actually go to the files,
I was just say we actually probably want to go over to the files, because in order to add to batch, you have to be in the file interface here.
Nice. Oh, that's a good shout. So yeah, if you want to do a single commit suggestion, then you could do it from that other screen. But here we want to take a bunch of them potentially.
Yeah. So the other button, or that button on the right to add to the batch.
So we can do that, and it'll be there ready. Cool.
And then me as I hack up along or something.
Sorry. Hacktoberfest. It's thematic.
Yeah.
So, and this answers the question that I was asking last week, which is, should we do this? Turns out we don't in general, but we could.
Yeah.
And at least we've got that comment as well, so that's good. So we can add these. There's a couple of them, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, this is an interesting one. So the idea that we should leave this so that people could theoretically submit translations.
Yeah. And this was something that Admiring Worm brought up, that because of the way that we were formulating that string there's like it's impossible to translate it into other languages.
Yeah.
Or not impossible, but it's improbable that you'd be able to
automatically do it.
To automatically do it. And so the suggestion basically comes down to, we check if it's valid or invalid, and then ultimately we would have a string that is this is it in English, that says like, we have found a valid license for Chocolatey, which expires. And then we would have an invalid one in English that says we found an invalid one. And then that way, when we translate it, those strings just become what they're supposed to be in there.
Right.
In whatever language it's translated into.
Okay. And then, yeah, we can, yeah. So yeah, it's just that linguistic hackery that we had from last week that,
yeah. And in my mind, like part of it was to appease Stevie in the chat last week, because he didn't like the grammar of a invalid instead of an invalid. And
I'm just gonna...
in my mind, part of me is thinking that we'll probably remove, like not even say we've found one. But for right now, we can add this suggestion to the batch. And if we end up removing it later, we end up removing it later. But if we don't, then at least we put that change in there. So
that's fair. Yeah.
So we probably want to add that one to the batch.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like the look of it. And then, of course, yeah, here we kind of went in hard with the just outputting everything we could, regardless of actual state. Yeah. But we could do a similar thing here where we case based on what kind of license it is. Or something like that.
So one of the benefits of the GitHub interface is that this discussion will stay there until it's resolved. And even when it's resolved, you can still see it. So if we can just leave this one and carry on. And then when we're going through later, we could say, oh, here's the unresolved conversations.
Have we done something about that?
Yeah.
That makes sense. I like it. And that's it for comments. So I'd be happy to just commit those.
So if we hit commit, it should, it will prompt us. It gives a reasonable title. I'm not 100% sure if it follows I know it doesn't follow our commit guidelines, but I've seen where someone puts that in and we accept it because that's ultimately what it is.
That's fair. And to be fair, I was planning on, because obviously we're going to pull this down to the machine we're working on. I was going to suggest that we squash that into our previous commit anyway, or rather add it in some way. So we're gonna play with the commit history shortly. Maybe.
maybe not.
Oh, it'll be fun. I always forget how to do that in the command line. Okay,
well,
so let's
do that.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see how it goes. So we're gonna adds translatable strings, and also we had the various
unnecessary returns. Or
this is one of my few terrified words that I can't spell even when I'm not on a stream, so I might not try that.
I was trying to think it through in my head, and
there's aren't required. I should have just not said
that.
A
couple of C's, a couple of
even on my best day. That's it's one of those words. Just there are a couple that I just can't get for reasons.
I rely on the browser to give me squiggles.
That's a fair one. So gonna commit those. And we're here. So let's just
now those are committed.
Yeah, so we can actually see that in the commit view here. Yeah, we've got a nice commit from both us and Admiring One. And I actually just loaded this VM back up, and we're right here. So
what we'll want to do before we do much in Visual Studio is go to the command line and bring down those changes.
That's fair. So we're here in our directory.
So now if we do a git status just to see what branch we're on again. I think we're on our branch, but just to make sure. So we're on license command. Git thinks that we're up to date with origin, but if we do a git fetch, this will go and it will pull down any changes. And as we see at the end there, it shows that license command went from the commit 1D9 yada yada up to 0FE. Now if we do a git status, it should show us that we're out of date. And it says we can do a git pull, and Gary will slap you if you do a git pull. So don't do a git pull.
Okay.
What a git pull is so a git pull will oftentimes do the right thing, but sometimes it won't do the right thing. And when it doesn't do the right thing that you're gonna wish you didn't git pull, or so I'm told. So what I usually do is I would do a git rebase origin / license dash or license dash command. You need a slash in there.
Yeah, just like that.
Yeah, just like that. And that will
just like the spit up there.
It does a git rebase. It basically says take the commits that we have and apply them on top of that one. And in this case, because our commit's already going to be in there, it's just going to bring us to the end of it. Another way to do it would have been git reset.
Okay, so you reset to the commit that's at the tip of...
to the commit that's at
gotcha. But of course that wouldn't, that might potentially wipe out changes that you've got. I guess this might as well depend, but we haven't got any changes, so that should...
we haven't gotten any changes, so this should be just fine.
Okay, so I'm going to go with that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And actually the rebase is important in scenario. I think in scenarios where if we had a commit in there, doing a reset wouldn't work because we would drop off our, like if we had a commit that was local to our workstation, reset would drop off that commit. Whereas a rebase will take that and it'll still apply it to the end of the origin, like the branch from GitHub. Yeah. So now we're up to date. Now if we do a git status, it'll again say that we're up to date.
Okay, excellent.
So we're all good now. Now we can go into the back into Visual Studio.
Now, I was expecting that to prompt me and say, you need to reload stuff, but I noticed that it has actually successfully reloaded everything and all as well. I guess that is mostly if you've modified the CS proj or any of the
if you modify the CS proj or the solutions files, then Visual Studio wants to reload. Alternatively, if you had edited one of these files and not saved it, like so you know how if you type something in, like just hit space or something, you'll get an asterisk at the end of the
so if you had dirty files, it would have prompted you because potentially you'd be wiping out your changes. I gotcha. That makes sense.
I believe so. I think it would have prompted and said, hey, that this file has changed since you opened it for editing. And I want to say it would give you a nice merge dialogue, but I could be misremembering my editors.
That's fair.
Do we want to start a live share again, or?
Yes. Yeah, let's do that. I think this shouldn't prompt anything.
Yeah.
Too bad. Are you on Slack?
Maybe.
Excellent. I've sent it to the wrong channel, but easily sorted. Sorry.
I saw it open, but it wasn't in the Slack I was expecting it to be in. And so now if I paste that in on my side, connecting to remote session.
There you are. Brilliant.
Ta-da.
So we can start out perhaps by directly addressing, well, actually, I kind of want to find out what happens with that license that says definitely expired. But
yeah, we could definitely take a look at that. If we could just hit start, I think, couldn't we?
Yeah, that should work.
Because we should have all of our,
it should all still be debug in place
from before.
Yeah.
And while you do that, I'm gonna go look. There were a few people that gave hints at
where the bit for
the count goes here part.
Yes. Turns out we didn't need to use regex. I think that came up in the chat, but also it came up in Chocolatey internal chatter later.
Yeah. Well, there was some saying we could use regex from one location and another saying regarding this section that so we can either use regex or we cannot use or choose not to use regex. But I should look at the screen. And so that, I think, this was the part I wasn't sure of, is if the invalid license would just not give us any information.
Yeah, it seems to be all right.
But it does. Can we hit any key to continue? And then what I want to do is, if I can find it, I'm going to, I want to see if I can start it from my end.
Yeah, sure. I think you might be able to.
Let me see.
I guess I'm unsure.
Visual Studio stopped responding for 12 seconds. Disabling extension live share may
That's
help.
always a good sign. However, it doesn't seem to have kicked anything off on this side.
The host doesn't allow starting debugger. If
Okay,
needed, ask them to enable it. So I can request permission.
That's not what we want. Oh, neat. Okay, yeah, let's do that. I feel like I trust you. This is fine.
That might be a mistake, but
I hope that was always trust Corey and not always allow anybody to do this. That's should probably find the docs on that.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, yeah. If anybody else comes in.
Okay, so it's paused, and I gotta find my way around this interface. It's slightly different. What I wanted to look at was our license is valid as false. Invalid reason. Oh, invalid reason does say why.
That's cool.
So in the instance of like where we found an invalid license which expires at such and such a date, we could then output more information as to why the license is invalid. In this case, it's an expiration date. I'm trying to think of what other scenarios there might be. If you changed formatting on the file, would also change that. Like if you did something to remove change the line endings or something. But we don't need to do that. Like that's just things that would invalidate the license file.
I was just going to say, I mean, we could literally just replace it with that other license file, but I guess actually, what we're trying to test here is we have a valid-ish license file that has gone off the rails, and would that still work the same way? Because so actually replacing it with the other license,
and so like in this case, it's valid enough that it was able to validate that it was a license file and give us information on the license. It's the main, I think the main thing right now. So I'm going to choose to continue, and I think you need to hit enter because I don't have that window.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, yeah, you better be. Okay, so now we want to look at the node count, and so we can either do it with regex or we can do it with not regex, and I think based on what Admiring Worm had told us, not regex is the way to go, because as I like to say, regex should actually be pronounced regrets, and there's the old saying of congratulations, you've used regex, now you used
regex to solve one problem, now you have two.
Yeah
Always a fan of that. Okay, so let's not use regex. Sorry, Stevie, if you're listening. Okay, so we've got our node count. We're going to format it with account. Did you happen to have the location of the thing we're going to be using?
Well, that's the fun thing, is it's not in the license code, or it's not in open source. Well, basically, what we want to do is trying to think what the best way to do is it just copy and paste this, or is it type it out?
I mean, it's an interesting one. Obviously, we've got. So we're just the suggestion here is to replicate the code from another code base, because we can't rely on that being present, confusingly, in a licensed system. So we do need to replicate it.
Yeah, I'm just looking at what we can't. I don't think our copy and pasting isn't quite gonna handle it. But if we do parse, I can type where let me call it license name, just so that there we go. Oh, you couldn't see it on my side. I have, but whatever Visual Studio does for the suggestions, and it said int count equals 0, and then wanted me to hit tab, so I hit tab, and what I'm wondering is, oh, it's not going to suggest the return count. There we go. So we've now parsed the note count, but what we actually want to parse is the node count, because I can type.
I
know
was
this. And so I guess the question becomes, for the node count here, do we want to just on line 83 say parse node count our license? I think I clicked it. There we go. Dot name. And I mean, now if I turn that off and I hit run,
we fail. That's interesting.
Why did it fail? What did it not like?
We have an expected bracket. So basically, when I was messing around with this, I suspect I removed one too many characters. There we go. Sorry about that. So let's try that again.
Oh,
I thought I put that back, but clearly I miscounted.
Perfect. Node count of 0. We're done.
I mean, we absolutely, yeah, we've done the same thing as we had before. We haven't broken anything. All of our tests, theoretically.
All of our tests still pass, because there are no
unless
tests.
We're looking for the string count goes here, in which case, yeah, problematic. But that's okay. So okay, yeah, we got our theoretical node count. And
oh right.
Okay.
Okay. I was just thinking of how we would do a unit test for this. Because I just realized that well, we can figure that out later, because the license will be, we'll have to figure something out for that, I think. But
I mean, yeah, I think yeah.
Oh, and actually
we could just mock the license validation.validate, I imagine. Not 100% sure on that.
Possibly.
My problem is always coming from a PowerShell side. It's very easy to inject stuff in arbitrarily, just whenever you want.
So what I'm actually going to do is do a var node count, because I realized that we actually need it out here.
Okie dokie. Yeah, of course, because we need to.
So we're going to need it down on line 89 as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to.
I see.
Cut
yeah,
that.
You're right.
And paste that here. And then right here we do node count.
Perfect.
And now, yeah. So node count, or count equals 0. Because in the code I'm looking at, we return null if we can't detect if we can't detect we can't find a node count, which maybe that's okay.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this part out. So what we want to start with is if the string is null or white space, so if the license name. Okay.
So we'll have to handle that as well. I don't think there's any reason to not mention that, but then that's always a dangerous path to go down.
No, well, so node counts can. Oh, actually, yeah, I think professional licenses don't have node counts. I think. I could be wrong.
I was going to say perhaps the one I've just forgotten the name of, but it's very rare. Maybe the one without a node count. But yes. So anyway, sorry. The thing that that one. I think we're either going to have to not do this on stream, or we're going to have to just admit that we've just got a message about something. I think we should go with the second option because that's much more interesting. That's fair. So Stevie says it in the chat that they might have a node account of 8 because Pro is technically for up to 8 machines. The message we got was that not all licenses will display a node count in the way that we were just about to start trying to implement.
Yeah.
So we should handle that
which
situation.
means that we could, yeah.
So, but we need to pass it
So
in
there
any
are
case,
some-
but we just need to
we need
handle
to-
that it doesn't find it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And the way I was going to do it was actually going to say use -1 for the node count if we can't determine it. But if we could return null, then we can also, because then even like the output would just say would be nothing, like node count, and it would just be empty.
Right.
Which in those scenarios, I think for first pass would be valid.
Okay.
So if we want to, so if you want to, I guess start with it that way, as I'm not the one driving. If
I should say, sorry, I drove last week. If you'd like to drive this week, you're very welcome to.
6 to 1, half dozen in the other, I guess.
Yes. Just
I
don't
guess
ask
I
me to
can-
spell necessary.
Yeah. So basically, what do we want to do is if string dot it suggested it for me, so I'm just gonna let it go with what it's suggesting. Okay, now it's just getting creepy.
Oh, hang on. So are you using is this one of the other plugins, or is this Copilot? Because talking of creepy suggestions, Copilot
No,
is top of
this
my list.
is as far as I'm aware, this is just Visual Studio's built in,
Okay, very neat.
not Copilot.
But whatever it is,
So-
well, yeah, okay. If it's something that's built into Visual Studio, but I'm not seeing these suggestions.
No.
So
And it
intrigued.
might be a Visual Studio 2022 thing.
So that's neat. I expected it to be running all of the plugins on my side and just dialing you into that. But if it's actually applying stuff from your side, that's super cool.
Let me just see if I can find it. Show completion. No. IntelliCode is what it is.
Yeah.
And I have no idea if that's so if you go to wherever I just was, tools, and then options, and then at the search options at the top, just type in IntelliCode or Intelli, INTELI, or 2 L's apparently. So now under general, that's interesting. You have way more options there than I do. My general options are automatic machine associated model training, C# suggestions, promote likely items in IntelliSense completion lists, and show whole line.
Blimey.
So yeah, it looks like for it's a 2022 or partially Visual Studio 2022 thing.
Yeah. Although this was 2019, yes.
2019, yeah.
Intrigue. Let's crack on anyway.
So,
There's no
anyways,
sorry.
that's a
fun diversion, but
so if we don't pass in a license count, then it's nothing, or then we return nothing. Otherwise, what we're going to do is create a start index.
okay. So yeah, one of the questions I was going to have was, do we know if there are any invalid characters in a name? Obviously, there's a lot of fun blog posts around the idea that actually, yes, names can contain surprising
Names can
things.
contain, yeah.
As long as
So
the
this
email
is
address isn't.
Oh, that's a good point. Is that names can contain which I could make it fun.
Mhm.
But what I'm going to do is we'll pretend that it's that that it is only Latin characters for now.
Sure. I was going to say at the very least we can hopefully maybe somebody's going to direct me to a blog post that immediately says actually no, names can contain square brackets.
Oh, they definitely
probably. Oh, really?
No. Oh, they definitely, because names. The general rule for names is that they can just contain anything.
That's totally fair. Sorry, I should have learned that lesson.
Even they can contain characters that can't be represented in any of our okay. I was just looking at the code and realizing that it seemed like this was wrong or using the wrong set of equals, but we're not actually currently using a what we want is the index of that from start index.
So is there a reason you're not reaching for substring here? Just out of interest.
Because if I'm not mistaken, substring returns the isn't substring where you give it you have to give it the starting character, and pardon me.
I'm sorry, I may well be misremembering this.
Substring is usually, you give it a start index and potentially an ending index, and it gives you everything between them.
Yeah.
We don't know where our start is. Oh, I see partly what I did. I don't have the red squigglies on mine.
Would you like me to drive so that we can benefit from the red squigglies? I'm always happy.
Quite possibly. Right. What I'm going to do is I'll start off with this. So while the start index is less than the length, and the index of the first open square bracket is less or is greater than -1. So if it can't, basically on the index of it'll return, well, actually you can, if you want to draw or type in license name dot index of, and what you want to do is go to the right one and then hit backspace, and one more time, and then open parentheses.
Okay.
Oh, it did it. So it takes a character, and if you hit the down arrow, then it'll show you kind of the other options, or sorry, not the down arrow, but the down triangle or whatever.
Yes.
So what other options this or index of takes? And if we go down a few, we should see one that's takes in a character.
Okay.
How did we jump to 6 already?
So, I mean, sorry, I was scrolling through if that's not what we want. So I guess looking at some of these, we could certainly do a character value of close square brace with a start index of the start index we had above.
Yeah. And then, so the starts at the specified character position and examines a specified number. Oh, so that's what the count is there. But if you look, there should be one that takes character value and an int start index and doesn't take a count.
Okie let's roll through.
Or actually,
so character value, string, character, and start index. I was just way past it. I apologize.
Yeah.
There.
So basically this one just says start at wherever our start index is. So actually, what we're looking for right now is the end length. Okay, so take out line 103. And now we're going to do a var end index equals 1. And then a while. So while start index plus end index is less than license name dot length. Just less than, yeah. And so then we're gonna actually still inside the while on what, or the while condition on 104 here. We're gonna say and then geez, so we're gonna use char dot is digit.
Okay.
Is digit, and then I always type name, even though I'm the one who called it license name. Start index plus end index, if that makes sense. So basically, first we find the first opening square bracket, first opening square bracket, and then while the while X characters from there is still less than the total length, and whatever one we're looking at is a character, then we make end index bigger by 1.
Okay.
So our end index is going to keep getting bigger in size until it finds what is not, or until it finds a character that is not actually a digit. And then we say if the character at that location, oops, if license name,
I see.
It had
So
started
this is to deal with
suggested.
the theoretical position, the thing where there's no seats on the license, no nodes on the license.
I think this one deals with where there's other square brackets inside of. So we say if it equals the closing brace, then we're gonna, so if the character that is at the end of it then is a closing brace, then we know that everything inside of it is like everything inside of that is a number.
Okay.
And therefore is what we want. Except that, parse. So now we're actually going to get to using the substring.
Okay.
Because what we're going to do is that we're going to say the substring is the start index plus 1. Oops. And the end index, or the end of it, is end index minus 1. Why did it? Oh, My key combinations are different when I'm not working on the Mac.
Sorry.
So what we can do is let's step through this so we can actually look at it. So I'm going to hit. Oh, good. Oh, and it's going to want. Okay. So it's going to want return null. And we're missing, what line is that? 105?
Right. Admiring Worm has said that we're our IntelliSense is out of whack because of a missing end parentheses.
Which I think is the one I just put in.
Okay, well, let's try another build.
Into, I think.
Okay.
Mine still says one failed, yeah.
Okay, well, then let's.
And I have no error list because I'm short as a type. Where was the
substring? I think it's on substring, maybe.
No, it's
no, that's
that was supposed to be +1. I don't know why it decided that it was end index or int. There we go.
Neat.
So now what we can do is, so we look at our license name was Hacktoberfest, then in parentheses or in square brackets was the number 1, and then the close brackets and apparently your email address.
My very special Hacktoberfest email address. It's the only one I answered during this month.
Oh, I should try that.
Almost certainly it's going to get black holed at some point.
So I'm gonna, if we step over, we can see start index has changed to 14 because that's where in the string, in the license name, it is. And so then we set the end index to 1. Throwing exceptions is always fun. Although interesting. So then if we go, where am I? So we've gone now 2 characters above. And we find that the is digit, if we look on, where are we? On your under your locals there, the third from the top, you'll see char dot is digit returned false, and
Gotcha.
that was because we got the this or that the one above it string that this get returned, which is not a digit.
Okay.
I'm trying to follow across like a couple of different windows, which is probably a bad idea on my part, but
sorry.
And then so then now we've carried on and to the next one where we say, okay, is start index plus the end index equal to the closing brace, which it should be.
Okay.
And so now we parse what was between those as an integer, which returned 1, which is that second one on that one, the words under the locals. So int.parse returned 1.
I see. Yeah.
So now if we continue,
sorry,
and you go back to the Chocolatey window, you'll see that our node count is 1 and we have completed it, and therefore we can merge it all in.
Perfect. I'm sure Admiring Worm will approve it immediately.
There are absolutely
This is
no
basically
problems with this.
Trio programming at this point, isn't it?
So now if you want to hit enter, so now like that's the happy path, everything is good.
Right.
But this is programming, and that oh wait, I skipped a whole bunch, and this is why I didn't skip a whole bunch. I skipped the part where we make sure that the length of so that we're not trying to I skipped the part where we're making sure that we're not stepping outside of the bounds of license name. So
Okay.
where we try to get a character that's outside of the length of the string. So what we'll want to do is if we I'm going to set a breakpoint right here, and I'm going to hit play, and then I'm going to play around with the output.
Okay.
Because currently start index is 14, end index is 2. I also have an immediate window, so I can do so license name length is 51 characters. If we change, so if I did start index equals 50, so you should see the red number 50 in the locals there. So now if we carry on, this is where we would get into, if somehow we got to this part. Wait, why did
right? So if it had got to the end of the thing,
yeah. So start index plus end index is not less than the license name length. So now this should throw an exception if I did it right, which it did.
Okay.
And so I'm just going to hit continue, and so this is what we would get, is that index was outside the bounds of the array. Now we wouldn't get that with our with the license that we currently have in there. But it is possible to do it with other valid licenses.
Sure.
Just because of the way that I skipped over this part. So if you want to close that generic runner tab, because that's not actually, that was where the exception took us. And what we do is we say if name.length. Oh my goodness. Mm-hmm. Every time I type name and hit space, it puts in name of instead of, because the code I'm looking at uses the name instead of license name.
That's fair.
And if I had just followed the way they did it over there, well then
would have made it.
Basically what we say is if we're still less than, no, if the length is less than or greater than, so basically if our license name is less than where we have stepped to in the array, then and we're going to break, it'll bring us back up to this while statement where start index start index should still be less than the length, but then it shouldn't be finding a closing brace or an opening, but maybe it does. In any case, eventually, if it goes on to the next section and still doesn't find one, eventually it gets to where it returns null. So if it's that, And now we say if we're not a character, or if we're not a character, if the character is not a digit.
Yep.
Then we're going to break because we found a location that it's not a digit.
Now, I feel like something that I'd be asking for, not least because my eyes are going slightly crossed, just trying to keep up with the indexes here, has some comments in here to just make sure that it's clear what we're doing.
Yeah, I'm realizing I'm thinking the same.
This is a much yeah. I think I would have done this quite differently in PowerShell, but PowerShell is a much less. I mean, yeah, as everybody has had debate.
Yeah. So
yeah,
if because like this one was making sense to me, and then this one was okay, yeah, because we're not a character.
Mm-hmm.
Or sorry, this one, because we've already gone through the we've expanded end index to the point where we've encountered a non-digit. So as the non-digit is either the end one, in which case we take that. Actually, no, we
just to check as well. This should be dot length. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if I try and explain this to myself with comments, that might be.
I mean, yeah, because I'm confusing myself by line 119. The more I look at it,
that's fair. So what we're going to say is, starting from the beginning of the license name, while start index is less than the entire length. I feel like this is definitely going into the realm of too much comment, but you know what? I'm just going to make sure that I understand this.
Yeah, we can always take it out later, but it's the we'll start. Actually, what I would say is like this.
Sorry. So actually, that's not that. That is in fact, and while. And there is a square brace, square bracket in the string. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Well, there's a square bracket.
And the thing that people may not know, maybe, is index of will return a -1 when the character you're requesting is not
the character doesn't exist in the string. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So like if we did hello dot index of M, that will return -1.
Okay.
Because there's no M in that string. And then L will return 1, 2, I think.
Yeah. Starting with 0
is 0. Because everyone knows that arrays start at 0. Indeed. Except for when they don't.
Those are my favorite times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was working with a lovely library I imported recently and was confused to find that they had started all their indexes at 1. I couldn't figure out why either. That was the thing.
Was it Lua?
It wasn't, no. It was a C sharp. Well, okay, but it was, yeah, to be fair, it was a conversion of a JavaScript, I think, based thing.
Gotcha. Okay,
So,
so
and there is a thing in the name, and then we're going to say,
so this while loop is looking for everything after the opening bracket or braces to until till the first non-digit.
I couldn't make a call on what JavaScript does. Sorry, we've got a comment in chat.
Yeah.
I was blaming just that it was a library that had come from somewhere else and been converted. Not specifically JavaScript.
I mean, JavaScript is, I mean, it's JavaScript. JavaScript arrays are 0 indexed according to Mozilla.
Fair enough.
So
maybe I was wrong on where it came from.
It could have come from Lua. I know Lua for sure is 1 indexed.
Okay. So incrementing end index, which is actually a relative position, if I'm reading this correctly, because it's
yes.
Yeah.
So end index is the number of characters from wherever start index happens to be.
Okay. So while the start index plus the end index is lower than length, so good.
Yeah.
And also the next character, or the character that we're looking at, is still a digit, then increase the length of the string that we're looking at.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is no still a digit. And here we're going to say if the length of the string is greater than the length of the name, stop. Well, stop is
relative.
Yeah. And then if so this is sort of oh no, sorry, it's
I just realized why I was confused. And yeah, it's we're using break and not continue. For some reason I was thinking they were continues, where they would continue on, like,
and just
go back to the while, the next spot in the while loop, but we're breaking out of the while loop, so
which is fine because we're going to get down here,
yeah,
and then we'll have fun. So if the next character is closing square brace, next so okay, yeah, I see. So yeah,
return the integer between them, basically.
Phrasing. It's hard. However, if we've got that and it is not that, then we're going to get out of there again.
Then we're going to stop.
This is definitely overcommented at this point. I apologize. So, okay, so we're just going to run through that, and that's okay. Potentially, it's an interesting one. Do you know, I'm almost regretting not using regex at this point. I feel like searching for square braces with digits in between would have been quick. But maybe not as robust.
Yeah.
And that's the thing there, I guess. So, okay, and then we're gonna go back one and try and find.
And try and find one. I want to try something because
Okay.
I don't know if it's one that would ever be issued. But I feel like it might actually break this. So I'm going to hit start.
Okay.
So you're going to get oh, why did my breakpoint not hit? Oh, because when I hit go, it didn't save. Interesting. Because if you had hit go, it would have stopped at the break, like it would have saved everything. So what I want to do is I actually want to change this, the name of the license.
Okay.
And I'm going to call it Hacktoberfest square brackets James. So that now if we, so the first one is still at index 14.
Okay.
And then an index is one past that. So now start index 14 plus 1. It does not equal close. It's not equal to character or it isn't a digit. So we break, and that brings us to return null. Which is not. See, I think this actually maybe needs to be continue. Stevie's comment about we got to impressive lengths to avoid regex.
This is this is
I didn't. Oh, did it actually save?
It looks to have saved. It doesn't think it's a dirty file, so that's
yeah. Good. So if we continue on, I changed it to be James again.
Okay. Of course, this is where it really comes in. The idea of test-driven development comes into its own. If we'd written tests for every type of license that we could think of and every variation of a failure we could think of, it would be as simple as running the tests to see which one's passed.
It would, wouldn't it?
In theory. Of course, writing the tests well before you've implemented the code is its own fun challenge.
So that's still not going to work.
Okay.
The reason that's not going to work is that we actually need to actually, because what I was going to do is say start index equals end index, or start. I was basically going to
but we've already got that here.
We've already got that.
Right.
And to to answer Stevie's question, yes, we have gone to impressive lengths to avoid regret, because that is how you properly pronounce regex, as one knows. I don't know what I was just gonna type. Jones, maybe. I'm gonna put a couple of different ones in there.
Yeah. Okay.
If we did I tell it to step over? So it's not a closing. Therefore, we start back at the next character. Why did? Oh,
So are we
That's not gonna
overriding
work.
it immediately by doing this again?
no, because
No?
end index was 1. And so start index plus, so 14 plus 1 minus 1 still equals 14.
Yes, that is true. I was wondering about the -1.
So now I'm wondering if, oh, wait. Oh. Okay, let me hit reload because I forgot to change the license name.
Okay.
Oh, there is such an easy way for this. Instead of testing it each time. Where is, oh, there it is. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to hit stop. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to say license name. Oh. Equals. So now when we run it, we don't actually have to go in and change the license name every single time. Because we totally know what we're doing. So start index. So now we change start index to 15.
Gotcha.
And then we go
So
to the
we're
next
advancing.
set. Start index is now 22, and that's where we get the 1, 2, 3 Corey
Mhm.
from. And so this should go through this while loop a few times.
Okay.
3 times, I would think,
Third time's the charm.
if my mathing is correct.
And with luck.
So we're still less than the overall length. Our end character is not a digit because we're out of that end loop, and is not a closing square bracket. And there, so now we're gonna add them together. Now we're gonna start at 26 and carry on.
Gotcha.
And find the next point, which is 32 in this case. And then now this should be contains 1 inside of it.
Nice.
Now, I would think that we should never, or I would think that we shouldn't really have a license that looks like
the one you've tried.
like the one I created, but
Yeah. But in this case, we've handled those potential situations. I was also going to say at the beginning, I was almost sorry for taking us down this path, because obviously, though potentially names may have these things, we may well have validation on the license creation that would prevent interesting and additional characters being chucked in. And of course, there's no, but I think it's still fair to say that handling additional situations is a nice thing.
Because there's, I don't know about generating licenses, but if you generate a license for a company name that includes square braces, is kind of what I'm where I'm thinking this might happen.
Yeah.
So now we have our license or our node count without having regrets.
Minimal regrets here. Okay,
no regrets.
So we've got our node count. We generate it on each thing, and we use it twice. Well, we actually use it once, but we reference it twice because
we reference it twice.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take out the part where we say that words. The part where I indicate or where I put in the dummy license name.
Yep, that's a good shout.
And then, so that gives us our license node count.
Yep.
Work occurs.
I was going to suggest for this next part, we should fix up the comment that was made by Admiring Worm around this chunk. But sorry, this rather depends. And then I was going to suggest a choose your own adventure style thing where either we go and implement at least one test, or we add a very basic set functionality. I'm not actually sure which one of those is going to be more work and if they'll fit.
What do you mean by basic set functionality?
Being able to give it a path and have it copy that into the correct place for Chocolatey license. Set may be replaced by the word install, to be fair.
Yeah, I was going to say install is the word I would use. Install might be a little more difficult.
Okay. I've got the shape of what I would do in my mind, but I suspect I'll find a lot of edge cases pointed out by you and the chats.
What I want to look at is if I go to okay. Can I get you to go to line 68?
You can.
Right where my cursor is there, or roughly where it is, and hit F12.
I've just hit completely the wrong thing. I'm sorry. I have a very small keyboard and it's lovely, but occasionally I do miss key. So that was go to implementation, F12?
I think so. Yeah, that sounds right.
Or possibly,
or
go to definition. Sorry, there we go. The choose your own adventure has picked tests, which is a shame. It's definitely the most responsible thing to do, so I'm glad that was picked. We should have put a poll up on Twitch. That would have been fun as well. See the votes come in.
Determine if regular output. So I think the install, yes, the install would require some work to the license validation class, I think.
Okay, so that's interesting because if I remember correctly, we actually started out without the license validation. And what we did instead was there was a property that had the expected path to your license. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Because I was expecting to have to do join paths and all sorts of stuff. Well, sorry, the C# equivalent. So my thought was quite easily, we should validate that we hit that license works first, I guess, before we replace whatever license we currently have. Otherwise, there's going to be a lot of people who accidentally mangle everything.
Yeah. So for the install, what I'm what I was thinking was that validate the license before we try to install the license. But with the code
in
in open source, we can't validate.
Because license validation at the moment only has please validate a license that is in exactly the right place.
Yeah. So which I guess means the install could put it into the right place and then run the license validation.
Yeah, we could rename safely rename whatever's in the current position and revert if things go sideways, which is
And in my mind, it made more sense to validate the license was valid before we installed it, because
but okay, so now I see where you've brought us to license validation, because in theory then what we would say is presumably that we'd want a constructor that took a path as opposed to just we want a method call that would take a path as a string or whatever that we've got. So we're just using validate. So we'd want validate to accept a path. So wherever validate's gone. Oh yeah, it was right there. That makes a lot of sense, really. But we'd want to basically, I'd almost say we'd want to have that. And we'd want to add the path here and then say either, depending on where this is, there it is, license file location. Here's a fun question for you. What's a user license file in this case?
That would be the user license file location, if I recall, is just the like C users, current user, and then I think it's just in the root there. If you were to set a breakpoint at line 41 there and then hit start.
But hang on, before we get too much further down this path, because I'm very good at getting distracted from these things. We said that tests would A, be less effort, and B, well, okay, we were told that there's a potential landmine that we're going to have fun finding, which I feel like is not an actual vote for tests, but I feel like tests are the good thing to demonstrate doing here.
Tests what I
are we proceeding
down
this path
because of the validate. It's just like currently validate doesn't take in a path to a license file.
Yeah. So I think as I was it's interesting that this is where we're looking for.
So we're going to try to add tests then? I think
it's up to you. I was just pointing out that if we're going to go down that path, then we shouldn't get distracted down here, though this is fun, or we can get distracted down here and go down this path.
Right. I mean, my initial thought for the command was first, like just one command that gives you the license information. We get that in, that's the command. And then at a future date, we add the install subcommand of it.
Yeah. That makes sense. So tests then is the sensible thing. And tests, of course, we still have one unresolved comment on RPR.
Instead of blindly outputting it should consider FOSS or missing license and only notify of this instead of the normal output.
So I think that's we could quickly hit that, and then we could
should add that
tests
in.
Yeah. So that wasn't in here.
My concern is that the tests might be too much. Might be too much.
That's fair. We've only got 6 hours left on the stream, so I mean, technically we haven't finished it, but yes, you're right. We've only got a little bit of time left. So okay, so let's presumably we can say we know we've got a license type, so we want to. Oh no, that's going.
So what we might do is on line 73, where we test if our license is valid. We could also do our license dot license type does not equals, and then license, yeah. Oh, there was something other than FOSS there, wasn't there? There was unknown as well, right?
Yeah, although I think I'd say so. Okay, we're saying that this stuff will only will pop this into the if else here. Is that right?
Yeah. I was thinking pop it into the inside the if, and I could probably take out line 75 then. Still take out line 75.
Oh, I see.
That was the,
I'm sorry.
yeah. So if it's not open source,
the one last question that I'd suggest here then. Oh, sorry. Which do you remember what the what was it? It was invalid reason?
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that syntactically valid?
So we found an invalid license for Chocolatey. I wouldn't, oh,
I can't remember how it looked. So
I would say instead of which, maybe we found an invalid license for Chocolatey. And then in space invalid reason.
Just like that.
Maybe I'd do a space after invalid reason, or yeah, maybe with. And then lowercase the I and the R.
Sorry.
6 hours left on this.
Okay.
And then we change that info on 82 to warn.
Yep. Good job.
Nope, not log. It stays. That stays as log.
Yes.
It's, instead of info, it becomes warn.
My apologies. Okay.
Now, so this is the part I'm not sure of. So maybe do we move that log.info out of the if else, although sorry, 75 to 78, 79.
Oh, I see. So we're going to invert the logic and then just have it
not necessarily move these
okay.
Move these ones completely out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And change that license type does not equals FOSS to license type equals a FOSS. And then do this.log.warn inside of that. And then say we found you have an open source, or you don't have a. I think like something that indicates that this is an open source license and therefore there is not actually any output. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm truly unsure how to phrase that best.
I would say maybe just for now say it has an open source license, and then hit enter and then hit return, or hit enter and hit return, hit enter and give a return statement.
I like that.
Yeah, and then and then on new line and just return semicolon.
Okay.
And that way we don't end up outputting anything. And actually, those can both go, that whole if statement, if our license is valid. So
I see. This should go
73
outside of the.
and all the way down to 81. And if we move that up, so we can, if you want to cut it and then paste it under line 70. So control X.
Just to check, are you sure? Because I feel like.
Yes, and there's a reason, and I'll
Okay, sorry, just wanted to check.
But I've got to. Where are we? Yes. So then that log.warn, those log.warns become slightly different.
Okay, because I was going to ask are they going out on standard out, and therefore will they get brought into any kind of parsing that people are doing?
I just need to just had some code that I gotta remember which pull request it was in.
Okay.
Oh, I hope it wasn't that one. So what's done in the license, in license validation, there's a check that's done, or there's an overload of the info in the warn that takes in a logging type.
Okay. So in theory, we're going to be well, let's just do start log.
So what will actually happen is after line 69, or so you can look. So there's that one, number 2 of 4, or technically 4 of 4 as well. But Chocolatey loggers of a log type, and then the message that we're gonna send in, and
okay.
Just have
so
to
log file only is presumably what we're thinking here.
Yes.
And then we were going to just take that message and use it, presumably.
Well,
no, sorry.
Not quite.
Okay.
Kind of, sort of. The trick is finding where I here it was. So I just got to find the version 4 of the def.
Rob says regular logging.
It's what is
or quiet logging, sorry.
Yes. That's exactly what I was looking for, except I'm going to copy this over here.
Yep.
So instead of the chocolatey loggers.log file only, you put that logger object in there now.
Right.
And then do the same on line in the else statement. I was going to give you a line number, but it just changed.
Sorry. There we go. Okay.
And this way, we handle the if it's not like if regular output.
We've got with this somewhere else. Oh, here it is. It's just config.regular output. Sorry.
Yes.
There we go.
Perfect. Thank you. As I said, apparently that's the one downside of live share is the not having the IntelliSense on the side of things. But
sorry.
So that should then output no commercial license found running with open source license. It'll either output normally or only to the log file if we run it with -r.
Okay. And if I remember correctly, our debug is currently set up. No, actually, sorry, we must have changed it back.
No,
otherwise we wouldn't be getting this.
Yeah.
So yeah, we found an invalid license. Brilliant. That's what we wanted to say.
So now if we do it, pass it with -r.
I'm definitely questioning my phrasing here, but we'll come back to that. So yeah, if we go back to -r, which if I remember correctly was debug properties. In here we just do -r or --limit output. And I don't know if you need to save it, but it's worth going. And there we have returned all the details for the license, but we have
we still have that and I open an issue for that where it says the license like that, where it gives that warning. Okay. Because license validation parses for if there is a valid or if there's it does a check to see if it's regular output or not regular output, but it only does a check for -v or -- version as the very first argument. So there's some and there's actually a couple of places where it doesn't do a check like that either, and just outputs outputs regardless of what you've put. So
okay.
And so that's the fun of that second warning of where we have an invalid license. So can we remove the license?
Yeah.
Either rename the file completely or
I'm going to go to the right place, given that I went to the wrong place a few minutes ago. Although
source,
the right place in this is thank you. And then it was not chocolatey. I went there last time. License. There we go. So flipping these around.
So we can actually. Do you want to just rename
or?
the license file or license folder itself?
Yeah, sure. Sounds like a sensible way forward.
And then,
same again.
So now if we go hit start, this should.
We do need to handle that potentially, I feel.
Well, so what I want to do is. Okay, I'm gonna, do that one, and now we hit. If I'm gonna, I'm gonna hit start.
Okay, we may have hit start too many times.
Oh, I think I tried to hit start after you had already hit start.
Yeah.
So our license, if we look, we expand, is valid, is actually false. So
we'd already be.
So what this would actually be then, this if statement is I'm going to hit stop.
Okay.
What I'm thinking then is take that out.
Mhm.
So that's an if, and then this becomes another if. Our
Okay.
license dot
Yeah.
Is valid, but then I'm actually going to put not our. So this first one just says, are we open source? If we're open source, output that, hey, we're running open source, and exit or return. And then otherwise, if it's not valid, then we just output, hey, we have an invalid license. Here's the reason.
Okay.
And then we still give all the other output though. Oh, I hit play while you're typing.
Sorry.
Oh. Okay.
So what are we
Oh,
seeing now?
we hit a break point, didn't we?
Yeah. So continue.
I think I hit continue.
Okay.
No commercial license found, running with open source.
Ideal.
Perfect. Because that's ultimately what we wanted last time and didn't get.
Yes.
So if you want to hit enter.
Yep. Rename that back.
Yeah, if we rename that back, we should get then the output. We found an invalid license for.
Let's remove that breakpoint.
Here, there
we go. Okay, so yeah, now we've got an invalid license. Still a little formatting could be done there, but that's okay.
Yeah.
And we're going to output that anyway. I think that makes sense.
I think it makes sense that we output what the valid or what the license information detected was, but also giving information. I also think then it makes sense in the output to have a true or false of is valid or something like that. Maybe.
Ooh, interesting. I mean, would you do
after the
exit code
license
1,
count?
for example, if it was invalid? If you found a license but it wasn't okay? No, that doesn't. Maybe if there was a license status, I would. It's successful. It's a successful operation, but it's.
I'm thinking of the from the scripting side of things. I mean, so if I run Choco license and it returns 0, I expect that I have a valid license. If it returns non-zero, then it's invalid.
Yeah,
I guess
think that makes
sense.
sense. I mean, I've not dabbled in extended exit codes at all, but that's also a possibility.
Yeah.
I've
not dabbled in actually exiting with non-zero without throwing an exception.
Okay.
So that part might be interesting to do.
Okay. I think we've definitely run low on time to either of add tests or additional parts. So maybe that's a fun thing to have a look into now. Or we could well, I mean, there's lots of options here.
We could take a look at,
have we successfully had a look at this and made sure that it's okay? So
I think so. I think that's what we just added in. Instead of blindly outputting, we're considering if it's a FOSS license.
I should really do this when I push the commit, but I'm going to add the comment now so I don't forget.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Cool.
Okay, so what's the thought? You can tell we haven't planned this stream at all. Apologies, as everyone said, we're doing it live.
Yeah. If
popular phrase for a reason.
Trying to think, if we're outputting I just realized that lines. Is it line everything inside that if starting at line 83.
Mhm.
Theoretically, now that we have that logger, we could say
Right.
put the logger in all of those, and then
and then you could just have
the
if not
logging
regular
output will
then
always
this.
have that, and then but also
yeah, that's
probably
fair.
good to leave it as is for now.
Okay.
And I think if we, my thing is, as I said, I don't know how to return non-zero. Trying to think which one would return non-zero.
So yeah, I was going to go spelunking into the code over here.
Okay.
Normally, I'd probably do it on desktop, but sorry, rather, I'd search through the files that I had. But let's have a
We
look.
could search through Visual Studio.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Let's do that instead. I was thinking of things that actually return non-zero codes, and
That actually knowingly
thing,
return non-zero is the which one?
Yeah, I was going to say install was an interesting one, except
yeah. Let's look at install. Install gets might get a little deep. Because the trick here might be
actually, there we go. One for non-success is sort of what we want to look at.
Yeah. So, but what we'll want to do is look at the run.
Okay.
I think it's run.
Yeah, and that
is the method name.
Yes, this would be so much.
If you hold down Control and then hit M and O, it should collapse everything.
Ooh, very nice. Good tip. Thank you.
And then, so now you can expand 452, which is probably just calling, package service install _ run.
Okay.
So, but if you click on line 455 there and hit F12, yeah.
I'm just gonna go to definition in this case. But of course, we've gone to.
All right, and then now you'll want to right click and go to implementation.
Yeah. Ooh.
Okay, that actually might be all we need to do.
So, I mean, have we? What? Sorry, I was just. No, actually, that's a.
So if I go over here, because Ryan is void, so.
Okay. Yes.
Oh, okay. So that'll actually make under in the license command, line 80. If we put a new line in, before or after, probably doesn't really matter. And now just do environment.exit code equals 1. And now if we run that, see what my concern was if we were setting it too early, but maybe not. We exited with 1.
Okay, awesome. That's kind of what we wanted.
That's kind of exactly what we wanted.
Much easier than I thought. I thought we were going to have to delve into further things, but no. Cool. Okay, so that's good to know. Yeah, and that should. Yeah, if it's not valid, then exit code 1. And by the look of that by the look of the install stuff, there's some decoration we could do to ensure that docs came out correctly and help was handled. I seem to remember we have a very
we
mild
do need
help
to
message, but so that would come as part of the thing. But we don't need. Well, I mean,
and we are kind of getting short on time. I've got an appointment in about an hour. So
yeah. Thank you, by the way, for coming on a stream on your holiday.
Welcome. We want to probably commit this and push it up to GitHub.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then I can, go back. Well, yeah, then the comment that I resolved a second ago will actually be resolved. So
yeah.
Do we want to dabble with, and I keep saying dabble, I'm not sure why. The spirit of Gary has entered the chat. So sorry, where was I going with that? Did we want to have a look at
playing around with the commit?
Yeah.
And getting into the potentially dangerous area of rebasing and
it's a fun
rewriting
history
area. I mean, if you want to.
we could. I'm only liable to go horribly wrong on stream and make myself look like I have too much fun. So yeah, why not? Let's do it.
So
we probably want to commit first, and then we'll do an interactive rebase and squish things together.
Can you do a Choco install git extensions? As much as I love to do. Well, yeah. Oh,
git.extensions.
Actually, you could have, because PowerShell was git extensions no dot.
Oh, was I elevated? I was elevated already. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm so used to not being elevated on my machine. Sorry. Choco install git.extensions.
No dot.
No dot.
No dot. Just git extensions.
What's that?
Yeah. Because as much as I love the command line, a simple okay. I was worried.
I imagine that was a
server. So on server, some of the .NET isn't a no-op and does require a reboot. So now if you do a git x, so git ex, all one word,
okay,
and hit enter, it should open, and it should open to this directory. Oh, right. Yeah. And then it'll ask you to confirm a bunch of stuff. Just hit cancel or apply and okay, or yeah.
This obviously is the setup process that everyone should follow. This is
Gary and I went through this last week because I didn't have Git extensions installed. So what I like about Git extensions is that it gives you the nice graph overview. I just realized that update refresh env probably could have been rebased before it was merged, and then we wouldn't have the Guitar Hero strings there. But
I do love Guitar Hero though. I mean, it's always the trade-off.
So what you'll want to do is commit
right. Yeah. So
we don't have to commit the working directory if we don't want to. We can just it'll be easier if we commit it, because then we can just rebase it all in the one interface. So at the top, if you hit the commit button, I'm super lost in this interface right now. Okay, so yeah, we're making our commit. Well, one of the nice things about that Git extensions does give us, if you want to hit options to the right, down a little bit. Sorry.
That one. I'm sorry. Here.
Yeah. Options on that. No, that wasn't it. Then maybe it's either commit message or commit templates on the left. Then to the left of that options. Okay, commit templates then. Yeah, edit the templates and settings, and then go commit validation. And that maximum number of characters for first line to be 50.
Ooh, okay, yeah.
And then the next one to be 72.
Gosh, I'm never gonna get verbose enough with that, am I?
And then hit OK.
All right. So now,
yeah, actually, can you go back to commit templates options again? Sorry, there was that second line must be empty.
So yeah, the double
and take off the indent part. Sorry.
No worries.
There we go. So now, as you're typing, once you get past 50, it turns red. And if you if you keep typing on that third line there, just keep typing. What you'll do is once you hit 72, it'll auto wrap for you.
I had too much fun watching that happen. Worrying. Very
so
worrying.
What you'll want to do is on the left, choose to stage our file.
Yep, that's a good shot.
And then I would say just put something in and hit commit. Yeah.
Cool. That's interesting.
So now what you'll want to do is, if I have to remember how to do it in this interface, right click on that one, and no, don't delete.
It's dangerous to hover over anything here.
Rebase current branch on.
Okay.
Selected commit interactively.
Gotcha. I am ready.
Yeah. So now with the interactive, well, actually, I guess the question is,
So, I mean, I'm happy to jump back into, well, I say I'm happy to jump into the command line. Well,
I guess the question is, are we wanting to squash them all into a single commit, or do we want multiple commits? So you can hit cancel here.
Mm-hmm.
And if we want just single commits, then
no, there we go. So we're fine.
Yeah.
So we want to. We're still adding the basic chocolate license.
So that's the very first one. So the first one we want to either be pick or reword.
Yeah, I'm going to say
we might want
we don't need to
reword.
rewrite that. Okay, if we'd like to.
I think we'll want to rewrite it and put more words on it.
And of course, so you can either type reword in full, or you can just have R.
Yeah.
I'm just going to remove that just as a. No, I need to not remove that, don't I?
No, that part doesn't matter.
There's the hash. Here.
Everything after the hash is more for you than it is for Git.
Gotcha.
So for the other ones, then what we can do is a fix up.
Okay. Neat. Yeah.
Yeah. So a fix up is basically a squash, but it takes the previous commits message.
Okay. And does it work to chain them all the way down?
It should work to chain them all the way down.
Awesome. Okay, so that looks good. That's what we want. I hit save. This, of course, is a Vim-like editor when you do it in the command line.
Vim-like, or a lot of it depends on what your editor configuration is.
Yeah, that's fair.
So if you click the X, what should happen is it will
this
it's going to keep prompting
settings thing is gonna
yeah.
Okay, I mean, if we have diffs coming up, then we're going to be in trouble regardless.
Yeah.
So this is okay. So we just wanted to, as far as rewording goes, we're going to remove the work in progress because we're clearly done. We're not done.
No.
But I mean,
but now we would normally also want to put it in our
an actual message.
Our actual message.
That's fair. We should do something more like that. The problem is, of course, that as with last week, we're coming up on the end of the stream, and we're under pressure to produce good words and a good, well-written commit.
Yeah.
Oof, tricky.
It does the thing Gary said, ship it, or
the spirit of Gary said ship it.
Spirit of Gary said ship it. Therefore, it's good.
Yes, I mean, needs more squirrel emojis, but that's all right. Okay, so let's at least put something in there. This commit introduces a new command to Chocolatey license. It's limited. And it will only display the current details. Current license. I feel like I've really and truly gone over 72 characters.
You have, but
it's interesting that it doesn't wrap you there.
It doesn't work in this part, only in the
So okay, let's.
I would probably wrap it right there.
Yeah. Never sure. It might be.
incorrect. But we're also going to have to come back to this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
When it is actually done.
Week 3 stream.
Anyway,
Actually,
so,
I'm not available next week. Sorry.
Did you hit save already?
I did hit save.
A few times. Okay.
So
now when we're done, we can close that and it will
rebase the rest,
way.
squash them into one, and we can see both our local copy and the copy that's currently up on GitHub.
Yeah. So now if we hit push, which is the purple arrow at the top,
okay,
it should come back and say no.
I was going to say it should complain at me, right? So that looks right. Yeah, this seems fine.
So now if we choose push, it should fail and say you need to force push. And
force push release. It's the
force push with release is the way you actually want to do it, because the if you force push and there has been a change on the remote, you're going to just overwrite that remote. Whereas a force push with release, it's still going to overwrite the remote, but it's only going to do it if we know where the remote is at.
Yeah. So the example here is if we had made that commit, if we'd made the suggestions commit earlier from GitHub, and then we'd been working away here, and then we force pushed it without lease, then we'd just blow that away. It would be gone. Whereas in this case, it would say, hey, actually, we're good.
Exactly.
Cool. Okay, let's do that.
So,
So there we go. History rewritten. Really and truly, I should add you and Kim to the authors of that commit now. There we go. So as Worm says, it'll only overwrite it if your remote is up to date. Which is the ideal.
Yeah. So now if we load up GitHub, then we can see. Now if we reload the page, or maybe it did already. Yeah. So it does also show that you force pushed it. Yeah. So,
although that's a feature of GitHub. Well, it's a feature of most Git sites, as far as I can tell. Not specifically Git. As far
GitHub and GitLab both show force pushes there.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So so that's session 2 of adding a basic Choco license command. Thank you again for taking me through.
Thank you.
I mean, we could wrap up 3 minutes early, or we could invite Stevie on to play some guitar. He said he was going to do the intro.
Either way works for me.
That's fair. Well, unless there's anything else we can say or show. No? Okay. Then, thanks everyone for coming along. Have great days.
Yeah.
See you all soon.